What if I told you that the average person wastes nearly 2.5 hours a day on distractions? That's over 9 full days every year, time that could be spent on what really matters. Shocking, right? But here's the kicker. We all have the power to get that time back. We just need the right tools. I set out on a wild challenge to find the best productivity tools, testing a total of 137 apps and systems. Some were hyped as game changers. Others seemed like they might just be another fad. But in the end, I discovered something surprising. It's not about having the most tools, it's about finding the right ones that truly make a difference. In this video, I'll take you through my journey. You'll see the tools that actually worked, the ones that wasted my time, and the unexpected gems that changed the way I work. Plus, I'll share the hidden strategies that transformed my productivity. Are you ready to discover the best of the best? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. From Chaos to Clarity. My first week with 137 tools. When I first embarked on this productivity experiment, I didn't know what to expect. 137 tools seemed like an impossible mountain to climb. To be honest, it was overwhelming. It felt like opening Pandora's box, endless options, endless possibilities. Every tool promised to transform my life, but I couldn't even decide where to start. It was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. The first week was an emotional roller coaster. I'd spend hours testing each tool, trying to figure out if it was really worth my time. Some tools claimed they could help me organize my thoughts. Others swore they could enhance my focus. But at the end of the day, I felt more scattered than ever. I was juggling so many different systems that it became impossible to keep track of them all. A key lesson I learned in that first week? Productivity isn't about more, it's about less. In the world of personal development, we're constantly bombarded with new tools and methods. But the truth is, trying to do too much at once only slows you down. In fact, research shows that multitasking can decrease productivity by up to 40%. So, as exciting as all these tools were, I realized that I had to narrow my focus if I wanted to see real results. One breakthrough came when I embraced a principle from Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. Focus on the 20% of tasks that bring 80% of your results. This 80-20th rule helped me start prioritizing. I stopped jumping between tools and instead, I focused on mastering just a few that seemed genuinely useful. That was the turning point. When I finally found the tools that aligned with my goals, everything started to click. It was like the fog lifted. I wasn't chasing every new productivity trend anymore. I was honing in on the tools that made the most sense for me. This was the beginning of the journey toward clarity. Chapter 2. Tool Overload. Why more isn't always better. There's a popular myth that the more tools you use, the more productive you become. But after testing 137 tools, I can tell you that this is far from the truth. The tool overload effect is real, and it's a productivity killer. Think about it. If you're switching between different tools every few minutes, your brain never gets into a flow state. According to a study from the University of California, the average person switches between tasks every 10 to 15 minutes, and each switch costs them about 23 minutes of focused work. That's a lot of wasted time, especially when you're trying to balance so many different platforms. The key is to focus on deep work, a term coined by Cal Newport in his book Deep Work. Newport argues that deep, undistracted work is the secret to mastering complex tasks and achieving high levels of productivity. And here's the kicker. This type of work is nearly impossible when you're bouncing between tools every few minutes. Instead of trying to use every new app that promises efficiency, I started to prioritize tools that helped me focus for long stretches of time. One such tool was the Pomodoro technique. Developed by Francesco Cirillo, this technique uses 25-minute work intervals followed by short breaks. Research backs it up. Studies show that this method can significantly boost focus and productivity. In addition to focusing on a few select tools, I began to understand the importance of simplicity. It turns out that the more tools you add, the more mental energy it takes to maintain them. In fact, tool fatigue is a real phenomenon, and it can seriously undermine your productivity. One strategy that helped me manage this was the one-tool rule I set for myself. This meant using only one tool per specific task. For example, I only used one task manager app and one calendar app. This eliminated the stress of deciding which tool to use next. This strategy allowed me to regain control and streamline my workflow. Chapter 3. The Hidden Gems. Tools that stole my heart. While many of the tools I tried were flashy but ineffective, some truly surprised me. They didn't come with the shiny marketing promises, but they turned out to be hidden gems that quietly transformed my productivity. One of these gems was Notion. Notion isn't just a note-taking app, it's a powerful all-in-one workspace. I was skeptical at first. It seemed overly complicated. But after a week of experimenting, I realized how flexible it could be. It allowed me to organize everything in one place, from project management to research notes. The beauty of Notion is its customization. It gives you complete control over how you structure your work, which was something other tools lacked. Another tool that quietly won me over was Forest. Unlike traditional productivity apps, Forest uses a unique approach to keeping you focused. When you're working, you plant a virtual tree. If you leave the app, your tree dies. It's a small, quirky game, but it taps into the psychological principle of loss aversion, the fear of losing something valuable. Research by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky shows that humans are more motivated by the fear of loss than the prospect of gain. This is why tools like Forest work so well. It doesn't just track your time, it uses a built-in incentive to keep you focused. And the cool part? You can later plant real trees with the coins you earn. Another underrated tool was Trello. While many people are familiar with it, few realize its full potential. Trello is an incredibly intuitive project management tool. It uses a board and card system that mimics the way we naturally think. What really made Trello stand out, though, was its ability to integrate with other apps like Google Calendar and Slack. This made it a seamless part of my daily routine. Lastly, I discovered Focus at Wool, a music service designed specifically for productivity. It curates music tracks that help enhance focus based on your brain type. The best part? The music isn't distracting, it's scientifically engineered to keep you in the zone. It was a small but impactful addition to my workflow. While these tools didn't make the headlines, they quietly became essential parts of my productivity system. They didn't overwhelm me or promise instant success, they simply worked. And sometimes, that's exactly what you need. Hidden gems, when you find them, make all the difference. Subscribe now if you're finding this journey helpful so far. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. You don't want to miss the final chapters where I reveal the ultimate productivity strategies and the tools that made all the difference. Chapter 4. The Unexpected Winners. Tools that surprised me. Some of the tools I tested didn't look like much at first glance. Yet, they ended up becoming some of the most valuable players in my productivity toolbox. The first surprise winner was Habitica. At first, it seemed like just a simple to-do list app. But it turned out to be far more than that. Habitica uses a game-like structure to keep you motivated. You earn points and rewards for completing tasks and building habits. It's simple but powerful. According to a study from the University of Rochester, using game mechanics like rewards and levels can increase motivation by up to 30%. Habitica taps into this psychological trigger in a fun way. Another tool I didn't expect much from was Freedom. At first, it seemed like just a basic website blocker. But as soon as I started using it, I realized how much it improved my focus. It blocks distracting websites across all your devices, ensuring that your work environment is distraction-free. According to research from the American Psychological Association, even brief interruptions can take up to 23 minutes to recover from. So having a tool that prevents distractions was a game-changer. Then there was Rescue Time. It's a background app that tracks how you spend your time. Initially, I thought this would be too intrusive or annoying. But it turned out to be an eye-opener. According to a report by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American spends over 10 hours a day on screens. Rescue Time showed me exactly where my time was going, which helped me identify habits I needed to break. Once I realized how much time I was wasting on social media, I was able to cut back and focus more. But the biggest surprise came from a tool called Coffeetivity. It's an app that plays the background sounds of a coffee shop. While it might sound odd, the idea behind it is solid. Research from the University of Chicago found that ambient noise can actually enhance creativity and focus. The steady hum of a cafe helped me block out distractions and tap into my deep work zone. These tools didn't promise to solve everything, but they offered subtle yet powerful ways to increase focus and motivation. Sometimes the unexpected tools are the ones that make the biggest impact. Chapter 5. Minimalism meets efficiency. My ultimate toolset. After testing so many tools, I reached a point where I realized that less is often more. Instead of relying on dozens of apps, I narrowed it down to a handful of tools that truly made a difference. The goal was simplicity, not complexity. One of the cornerstones of my new tool set was Notion. I combined it with Google Calendar for scheduling and task management. Notion was flexible enough to organize everything in one place: projects, notes, to-do lists, and even databases. The beauty of it is that I could tailor it exactly to my needs. By reducing the number of tools I relied on, I eliminated the friction that came with constantly jumping between different platforms. Another key tool in my minimalist setup was Todoist. I had tried several task management apps, but none of them felt as intuitive as Todoist. It's simple, easy to use, and integrates seamlessly with other apps. The trick to maximizing its effectiveness is the priority levels feature. By assigning priority to tasks, I was able to focus on the most important items first, instead of getting lost in a sea of low priority to-dos. I also kept Evernote in my toolkit. It's a classic note-taking app that remains my go-to for capturing ideas on the fly. Its search function is fantastic, and its ability to sync across devices means I can access my notes anywhere. The key to using Evernote efficiently is to organize your notes into a clear, easy-to-navigate structure. I've found that maintaining a few main notebooks and using tags helps keep everything in order. To manage my time better, I stuck with the Pomodoro technique I mentioned earlier. Combining these simple tools with this time management method helped me create a balanced workflow. It may sound like a lot of apps, but in reality, it's just a few tools that work together to simplify my life. By focusing on a smaller set of tools, I was able to streamline my daily routine. The key takeaway here is that you don't need every tool on the market, just the ones that align with your goals and help you stay focused. Efficiency isn't about doing more, it's about doing the right things with the right tools. Subscribe now. Want more productivity tips and the tools that help me succeed? Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the final chapter, where I'll share the ultimate productivity hack that made everything click. Chapter 6. Lessons beyond tools. What I learned about myself throughout this journey of testing 137 productivity tools, I discovered more about myself than I ever anticipated. It wasn't just about the tools, it was about how I approached productivity and the mindset I had toward work. The first major lesson was that I am easily distracted by shiny new things. I've always been someone who loves trying out new apps and gadgets. But this experiment taught me the value of consistency. Tools alone aren't enough to improve your productivity. It's the habits you build around them that make the difference. This is where Atomic Habits by James Clear came into play. One key principle in the book is the idea of focusing on small, consistent changes. Clear explains that habits compound over time, just like money in a savings account. The more consistent you are, the greater the payoff. This mindset helped me stick to the tools that worked, even when new ones popped up and tempted me to try something else. Another valuable lesson came from the concept of time blocking, which I first learned about from Cal Newport's book Deep Work. Time blocking is a simple but powerful strategy. You allocate specific blocks of time for specific tasks. This helped me avoid the trap of multitasking and allowed me to dive deeply into work without interruptions. Research by the American Institute of Stress shows that multitasking not only reduces productivity but can also increase stress levels. Time blocking helped me reduce stress and accomplish more. Perhaps the most important takeaway, though, was the idea of intentionality. It's easy to fall into the trap of using tools just because they're available. But tools are only as effective as your intentions behind using them. The key is being clear on your goals and using tools that help you achieve them, not just for the sake of using them. By the end of this experiment, I realized that the right tools, used intentionally and consistently, can make a huge difference. But the real secret to productivity isn't in the tools themselves. It's in how you use them, the habits you form, and the mindset you adopt. This entire journey wasn't just about finding the best tools, it was about learning to become more disciplined, focused, and intentional in my approach to work. And that, in the end, is the greatest productivity hack of all. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep improving your productivity and get more tips on using tools the right way.